Hello, my name is Quan Wan, a product manager for WebLogic Server. I would like to welcome you to this year's WebLogic Server Day. This is a virtual version of the in-person event that we normally host. Last time we delivered a virtual WebLogic Day was back in 2023. With the recent release of WebLogic Server 14.1.2, we thought it would be good to host another virtual event to share with you our latest update. The WebLogic Day is really an opportunity for developers and IT professionals to come together and learn about the latest innovations in WebLogic Server technology. Through this event, we hope to keep you up to date with the latest development and for you to gain a deeper understanding of WebLogic Server and its cloud-native technologies. We do have a lot of updates this year, so whether you are a WebLogic expert or just starting out, this event will help expand your knowledge and skill in WebLogic. Here's the agenda for today. We will be covering 3 topics over the next 2 hours, and it will be delivered live by the WebLogic product management team. The speakers are all based in the US time zone, so it's quite late for them, and we appreciate them for staying up late to be here with us. If you have any questions, please post them in Q&A, and the team will be happy to answer them. Today's event will be recorded, and the recording will be shared with you afterwards. Do reach out to us after if you have further questions. So without further ado, I will let Will Lines start the first session on modernizing WebLogic Server. Over to you, Will.
Thank you very much, Quan. Let me share my desktop. Hi, everybody, and thank you again, Quan, for your introduction, and thank all of you for attending. My name is Will Lyons. I manage product management for Enterprise Cloud Native Java, which I will be describing in just a moment. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the new capabilities we're delivering to enable you to modernize your WebLogic server environments. And I hope you take away from this webinar and this series of presentations that we're doing a lot to enable you to take your applications to the cloud, to build microservices, to run them in cloud-native environments, and so on. So without further ado, let's get started. First, there's a standard Oracle Safe Harbor slide, a standard disclaimer to indicate that any forward-looking information is subject to change. However, the roadmap information that I'm sharing does reflect our current plans at this time. What I'm going to do in my presentation this evening is we'll talk a little bit about what I mean by the term Enterprise Cloud Native Java and what the Enterprise Cloud Native Java product line consists of. And then I'll dive into the work we're doing to enable you to modernize your WebLogic applications, including recent releases and upcoming releases and the new capabilities we're delivering. So let's start by talking about Oracle Enterprise Cloud Native Java. Oracle Enterprise Cloud Native Java is a set of product technologies developed and supported by Oracle for hosting your enterprise applications. All these products are built on Java and are intended to host applications that are developed using Java. And the product line starts with WebLogic Server, which I assume most of you are familiar with. But WebLogic is a Jakarta EE application server that enables development of enterprise Java applications using standard APIs and deployment of those applications to an application server environment, which enables you to secure your applications, to scale them, to connect to databases, to monitor the performance of those applications, to manage them and change the configuration of those applications. WebLogic has been proven in production for many years. It is an important strategic product for many Oracle applications that have been built on WebLogic, and we're continuing to enhance it going forward. Our product line also includes WebLogic Server for OCI. WebLogic Server for OCI, you'll be hearing more about this in the next presentation, but it represents the recommended way of running WebLogic applications in Oracle Cloud. WebLogic Server for OCI is an Oracle marketplace-based offering, which enables you to provision WebLogic configurations for development and production deployment of those applications in Oracle Cloud and leveraging the new capabilities of Oracle Cloud. The next product included in our product line is Helidon. Helidon is our Java microservices framework. It provides a set of Java libraries for building lightweight Java-based microservices, which are easy to program and deliver very high performance. Helidon applications and microservices can be easily integrated with WebLogic applications using REST interfaces or using SOAP web services or using Java messaging. And it has been proven in production for many years. Finally, our product line includes Oracle Coherence. Oracle Coherence provides an in-memory data grid that can encompass tens or hundreds of JVMs, which can serve as a distributed cache for applications built on WebLogic or on Helidon or other application servers. Coherence also provides in-memory processing of that data to provide highly scalable and sophisticated processing of data that resides in the grid. Together, Oracle Enterprise Cloud Native Java enables you to build standard-based applications, either traditional Jakarta applications or microservices that integrate with the rest of the Oracle product line that run in Oracle Cloud that can be deployed in physical machines or virtual machines, on containers or Kubernetes, and in private and public clouds. So that is our product line. And our intent in delivering these products is to enable you to modernize your applications. Most WebLogic users have deployed enterprise applications, perhaps a portfolio of applications on physical machines and virtual machines running in their on-premises environments. But we've heard many requests, and there's a great deal of interest in moving those applications to different environments, whether those are deploying those applications in Kubernetes or deploying net new applications using microservices technologies, or combining microservices and traditional applications in combined deployment environments. And finally, we enable the migration of all these applications to cloud, both on-premises clouds, to Oracle clouds, and to other public clouds. All of the above can be accomplished with the Enterprise Cloud Native Java product line. So that's a brief summary of what Enterprise Cloud Native Java is all about. And so now I'd like to dive into WebLogic Server and the latest updates we've done for WebLogic Server. So depicted here are the currently supported versions of WebLogic and a version that's currently under development and available in beta. The two versions on the left represent the majority of customer deployments of WebLogic applications. They're WebLogic Server and Coherence 12.2.1.4, which also supports the full Fusion middleware product line. We continue to support applications deployed to 12.2.1.4 It supports Java E7, the use of Java 8, and we have many customers happily deployed on 12.2.1.4. 5 years ago, we released WebLogic Server and Coherence 14.1.1. And we have many customers deployed on this release. 14.1.1 supports Jakarta E8. It adds Java 11 support to our JVM support. WebLogic Server and Coherence 14.1 was a WebLogic and Coherence only release and did not include the full Fusion middleware product line. Something that's new is we have just released in December WebLogic Server and Coherence and Fusion middleware 14.1.2. From a WebLogic standpoint, this release supports Jakarta E8, but we have added new Java support. We're supporting both Java 17 and 21 with the 14.1.2 release. This is available today. It is supported through Oracle Premier support. We provide a long life cycle, which I'll be describing. And we're very pleased at the adoption we're seeing from our customer base and a lot of success that our customers are enjoying by picking up 14.1.2. And the final release I'd like to mention is a release under development. It's WebLogic Server and Coherence 15.1.1. 15.1.1 is, at least initially, a WebLogic Server and Coherence only release. This is available today in managed beta form. So if you are a customer and you're interested in trying out WebLogic and Coherence 15.1.1, on a subsequent slide, I'll be providing you with a URL to nominate yourself to participate in our managed beta program. This continues to support Java 17 and Java 21. What's really new about 15.1.1 is it supports Jakarta EE 9.1. I'll be talking about that later. Beta is available today, and we intend to make this generally available in 2025. A question we get asked very commonly is, what about support for all these products? So depicted here are the releases that are currently supported. They include WebLogic 10.3.6, which is only supported via market-driven support. So there's relatively few customers currently running on 10.3.6, and I won't be talking about that. The majority of our customers, as I mentioned earlier, are deployed on 12.2.1.4 or 14.1.1 today. 12.2.1.4 will be supported in Premier support through 2026 and with extended support through 2027. So you can continue to get new patch support for your 12.2.1.4 deployments for almost another 3 years. However, we strongly encourage 12.2.1.4 customers to begin planning now to upgrade to newer versions of WebLogic, whether those are 14.1.2 or 15.1.1. WebLogic 14.1.1 is supported until 2026. When we release 14.1.2, we are offering a grace period of 2 years after 14.1.2 GA, for which we will provide patch support on 14.1.1. So we'll continue to provide new patches on 14.1.1 until the end of 2026. But again, we're advising 14.1.1 customers to begin planning their upgrades, either to 14.1.2 or 15.1.1. And the good news is that 14.1.2, we've already committed to a very generous support lifecycle. We'll be supporting 14.1.2 for 5 years with Premier support and another 3 years with extended support. We've announced our intention to deliver 15.1.1 in 2025. We haven't specified support timeframes, but we expect them to be similar to the error correction timeframes you've seen on these slides. The message here is for those of you on 12.214 and 14.1.1, begin planning your upgrades now to these other releases of WebLogic that are either available or becoming available. Before I get into the 14.1.2 release specifically, I just want to talk about some general improvements we're making to WebLogic for all versions. And the first area I just want to comment briefly on is improving WebLogic security. I think we all know how important this is, and we're making ongoing improvements to the WebLogic security profile on an ongoing basis. I've listed some of the things we're doing here. I just want to highlight a few of them. One is the delivery of something we call stack patch bundles. For those of you responsible for patching WebLogic, you're probably familiar with the fact that patching WebLogic requires applying a series of patches to your WebLogic deployments. With stack patch bundles, we're delivering a single download, which includes all the patches that are required for patching your WebLogic environments, and automation scripts that will enable you to easily check for dependencies, apply those patches in an automated fashion to your running environments so that you can be sure your WebLogic deployments have all of the latest patches that are required. We've seen customers report great success in using our stack patch bundles. Another improvement we've made is improvements to OPatch to give you the option of deleting OPatch backup files, which can sometimes cause scanners to detect old unpatched versions of WebLogic, which produce false positives for scanners. With these OPatch improvements, you have the option to delete backup copies as you're patching your WebLogic installations. And the third item I'd like to mention is a new option we've provided in existing WebLogic releases called Secured Production Mode. Domains created using Secured Production Mode will automatically use by default secure settings in WebLogic, like enabling SSL ports or enabling administration ports or blocking unauthenticated T3 access and similar kinds of defaults. This is something that is available for you today to more easily secure your WebLogic environments, and it's a feature that we're using more significantly and more heavily in 14.1.2, as you will see. We also continue to provide best-of-breed integration with the Oracle database. We work very closely with the Oracle database team, and we provide the best integration with the Oracle database of any application server. So all of the current WebLogic releases 12.2.14, 14.1.1, and 14.1.2 are certified with the latest Database 23 AI database services. We enable the use of the latest database drivers with each of these releases, and we support the database integration we've historically provided with WebLogic, along with new capabilities that are provided by the Database 23 AI drivers. So we're continuing to enhance our database support in WebLogic. And then finally, some of you may be familiar that over the past several years, we've developed in open source a set of tools called the WebLogic Kubernetes Toolkit to enable the deployment of WebLogic applications in Kubernetes environments. So these tools enable you to take existing applications and without changes to create container images, to introspect your existing domains and applications, to create container images from those domains and applications, and deploy those domains in running Kubernetes environments where you can take advantage of capabilities like the ability to patch your WebLogic deployments easily, or to update your applications easily and do so in a rolling fashion with no application downtime, the ability to scale your applications using auto-scaling patterns in Kubernetes, the abilities to take advantage of built-in Kubernetes high availability features like the ability to automatically restart pods or the ability to replicate WebLogic configurations across Kubernetes clusters for disaster recovery. And also, by deploying applications on Kubernetes, you're automatically deploying in an environment which is broadly supported across clouds, across on-premises environments. So you're building on a highly portable infrastructure, which enables you to move your applications to the deployment platform of your choosing. So these are capabilities that are available in all supported WebLogic releases today. Okay, let's talk about WebLogic 14.1.2. As I mentioned, this was made generally available in December of 2024, and in subsequent slides, I'll be reviewing all of the new capabilities that I've summarized here on this slide. Fusion middleware support, platforms we support, etc. Let's dive right in. So WebLogic Server and Coherence 14.1.2 are released along with the entire Fusion Middleware 14.1.2 product line. We believe many of you are using Fusion Middleware products like perhaps Oracle HTTP Server for load balancing your WebLogic applications, or Coherence. Both of those have new version releases with Fusion Middleware 14.1.2. You may be using ADF for your deployments. You may be using SOA Suite or Oracle Service Bus or Business Process Management or Web Center, along with your custom WebLogic developed applications. You may be using forms and reports. All of these are available today to be used and will be supported for that full 5+3 year support lifecycle. I do want to point out that when we first released 14.1.2 in December, identity management products were not yet available. They have been released as a 14.1.2.1 release. So the identity management suite of products is available, runs on WebLogic 14.1.2, and can be used to secure WebLogic and Fusion Middleware 14.1.2 applications and other applications. A summary of platform support. I mentioned that WebLogic 14.1.2 supports Jakarta E8, which is equivalent to Java E8, for those of you who are more familiar with the Java E terminology. And that's the same level of Jakarta E support as in WebLogic 14.1.1. For those of you who are running 12.2.1.4 applications, there are some new Java EE capabilities that are available in 14.1.2 that you can take advantage of. Java EE 8 or Jakarta E8 is highly compatible with Java E7. So we would expect for those of you upgrading from 12.2.1.4 to 14.1.2, you should be able to upgrade your applications, generally speaking, without problems. We are supporting new versions of Java, Java 17 and 21. Our operating system support today, we support Oracle Linux, Red Hat Linux releases, current versions of Windows, Mac OS for development environments. We hadn't communicated this broadly in our statement of direction, in our public statement of directions, but we are planning to deliver 14.1.2 support for Solaris Spark on Java 17 and 14.1.2 support on AIX this calendar year. So that is coming. So if you're using one of those platforms, 14.1.2 support will be available this calendar year fairly shortly. We have a rich set of databases supported, And for more details, please refer to our Fusion middleware certification matrices. If you move to 14.1.2 from, let's say, 12.2.1.4 or 14.1.1, generally speaking, we think you're going to see a performance benefit simply from the perspective of moving to a more current release of Java. The Java team has delivered performance improvements in Java 17 relative to Java 8 and 11. And depicted on this slide is some internal benchmarking we did comparing an application running on WebLogic 12.2.1.4 on JDK8 with that same application running on 14.1.2 and JDK 17. And you can see in a variety of use cases, there's improved performance. Your mileage may vary depending on what your applications consist of, but generally speaking, we expect when you move to 14.1.2, you'll see a performance boost. We're delivering new manageability features, and the thing you're going to notice immediately upon using 14.1.2 is there is a new console. The WebLogic Server 14.1.2 remote console is replacing the WebLogic admin console web application, which was the console provided in 14.1.1 and prior releases. So the WebLogic Server remote console becomes the primary management UI for WebLogic 14.1.2. The WebLogic Server remote console has been developed in open source, and we've actually supported it since March 2021, so it's a very proven technology capability. And it effectively represents a modernized and updated console for those of you who are used to the WebLogic admin console. It uses a modern UI framework. We support 2 deployment modes for using the remote console. You can run the remote console on your desktop, so on your, let's say, your Windows machine or your Mac machine, and connect over REST APIs to the WebLogic domains you're managing. We also provide what we call a hosted version of the console, which is an application which runs deployed on the admin server in a similar model to the WebLogic admin console. So we provide your choice of deployment types for using the remote console. It uses the WebLogic Management REST API, which has been available since 12.2.1.4 for connecting to mbeans and WebLogic and performing management actions. It supports all the configuration and monitoring capability that you're used to in the WebLogic admin console, familiar navigation metaphor. It supports the ability to connect to multiple domains from a single WebLogic console instance. You can only manage one domain at a time, but from the same running console, you can choose to connect to a variety of domains in your environment and a variety of versions of WebLogic that are running. We think this is a bit more modern console. It is more secure. It's also integrated with our Kubernetes toolkit, and we think you're going to like it when you try it out. We've also delivered a number of security improvements. By default, when you create domains in WebLogic 14.1.2, they will be created using secured production mode, that mode of domain creation which enables more secure WebLogic settings by default. You don't have to use secured production mode, but that is the default for new domain creation. Domains that you upgrade will not have their configuration changed. But if you create new domains, or if you have existing WLST scripts that create new domains, they will be created in secured production mode by default. We're also supporting OpenID Connect. We've made some changes to the way we package third-party jar files to reduce false positive scanner results. We've made enhancements to our SAML support to enable simplified logout when using SAML for security app for single sign-on. And we've also delivered a new FIPS provider for running WebLogic applications with FIPS security. On the cloud native front, WebLogic 14.1.2 deployments are fully supported in Kubernetes using the WebLogic Kubernetes toolkit. We've provided WebLogic container images that are available in the Oracle Container Registry, and we've extended WebLogic Kubernetes toolkit support to the Fusion middleware product family, so you can manage Fusion middleware product deployments in Kubernetes. We have Fusion middleware product images available in the Oracle Container Registry. We've made Oracle HTTP server images available in Kubernetes as well. And we've also made some very specific enhancements within the WebLogic runtime in areas like JMS to better support elastic scaling within Kubernetes environments. So WebLogic 14.1.2 continues to support Kubernetes and deliver enhancements for use of WebLogic in Kubernetes. 14.1.2 integrates with the Oracle database, supporting database 23AI services, Oracle database 19c, all of the advanced integration capabilities we've provided historically, like active grid link for rack, well-defined disaster recovery, using patterns that have been tested and proven with Oracle database DR patterns, support for advanced features like application continuity. The latest JDBC drivers are bundled with 14.1.2, so you can easily take advantage of their new support. I don't have time to do all of the new coherence support justice, but just to give an overview, following the release of 14.1.1 in the 2020 timeframe, we made a decision to open source significant pieces of the coherence product in an open source project we call Coherence Community Edition. And since about 2021, we've delivered a series of new releases of coherence technology in open source that deliver capabilities like integration with microservices frameworks like Helidon, Micronaut, Spring, integrate with other enterprise Java or microservices technologies like Kafka and Hibernate, support for protocols like gRPC, support for a variety of clients, and another broad set of capabilities, including a new command line interface for managing your coherence deployments. So there's a great deal of new feature capabilities that we've delivered in open source through Coherence Community Edition, and we've harvested those capabilities, made them available in Coherence 14.1.2, where you can take advantage of them starting right now. So if you're using Coherence with your WebLogic deployments, you're using it standalone, you're using Coherence with Helidon microservices, you can take advantage of all of these new feature capabilities. We support we support upgrade from 12.2.1.4 and 14.1.1 to 14.1.2. So you should be able to upgrade your applications very readily to 14.1.2 when you're ready to do so. If you're upgrading from prior WebLogic servers versions such as 10.3.6, we recommend a two-step upgrade where you upgrade to 12.2.1.4 first and then upgrade to 14.1.2. The upgrade process is generally unchanged. Check that you're using supported configurations, back up your domains, install 14.1.2, run the reconfiguration wizard, which makes very minor changes to your WebLogic domain. And for the most part, your application should be deployed without any changes. If you happen to be using APIs that were removed in Java 17 and 21, or WebLogic APIs that were removed in 14.1.2, our experience is that this is very rare. If you are, we provide open rewrite recipes to help you upgrade those applications. And I'll be talking about that more in a minute. WebLogic Server for OCI, as I mentioned, is a recommended way to run WebLogic on OCI. Adrian will be talking about that in a few minutes. WebLogic for OCI has just a few weeks ago, been updated to support 14.1.2 as well as 12.2.1.4 and 14.1.1. So rest assured that if you upgrade or plan upgrades to 14.1.2, you'll be able to take advantage of all the features and capabilities that are available to you in WebLogic for OCI. And I'll just mention, and Adrian will cover this in more detail, but for all of your WebLogic deployments in OCI, you can also take advantage of a new native OCI service we're building and delivering today called the WebLogic Management Service. The WebLogic Management Service is intended to enable you to manage WebLogic deployments in OCI, either WebLogic for OCI installations or user installed user installations of WebLogic and user created domains of WebLogic that are running in OCI. Our initial focus is enabling you to easily patch WebLogic environments that are running in Oracle Cloud. This is available in limited availability today. We'll be releasing WebLogic Management Service in general availability soon. 2025 is the most specific date I can give. And we're going to enhance this service to add additional management capabilities to simplify management of WebLogic applications in Oracle Cloud. Helidon, again, is a framework for building Java microservices. It's lightweight, it's cloud native and Kubernetes friendly. It provides APIs that support microprofile, which is closely aligned with Jakarta APIs. So if you've got development teams that are familiar with building in a declarative style, microprofile provides a very familiar programming environment to your developers. We also support a different flavor of development called Helidon SC, which provides more developer control of functional programming style. Helidon 4 is the first, Helidon 4 is the most current release of Helidon. It's the first Java framework, Java microservices framework, built from the ground up to support virtual threads. So it delivers very high performance and scalability with a very simple programming model. You'll learn more about Helidon in Phil's presentation today. We've recently released a new version release of Helidon, Helidon 4.2. This was released in March 2025. It was featured in Java 1, and it delivers a whole series of new capabilities, AI integration, the latest support for Java 24, new concurrency support for OBAS capabilities. That's a service that enables you to build applications specifically for the Oracle database on Oracle Cloud and other capabilities. So we continue to deliver new releases of our strategic Java microservices framework. Okay, the final release I want to talk about today is WebLogic and Coherence 15.1.1, which is available in managed beta today. I'll just skip to the punch here. First, if you're interested in participating in managed beta, I provided a URL here. If you copy that URL and access it, you can nominate yourself to participate in the managed beta process. Our managed beta process will perform a review, but we hope that most of you who are interested can be given access to our beta code. The most significant new feature in WebLogic 15.1.1 is Jakarta 9.1 support, which enables you to use updated Java framework support. So I'm going to jump right to the next set of slides and explain this a bit. So let's talk about Jakarta 8 and Jakarta 9.1. WebLogic 14.1.1 and 14.1.2 are based on Jakarta 8. Jakarta E8 is technically identical to Java E8, the last Java EE release. And the APIs defined by Jakarta E8 use a standard JavaX naming convention. So applications built using Jakarta E8 use these JavaX-based APIs. Jakarta 9.1 is functionally compatible with Jakarta E8. In other words, the functionality provided by the Jakarta 9.1s, provided by Jakarta 9.1, with minor exceptions, is the same as Jakarta E8. The primary change is that whereas Jakarta E8 used JavaX package names, Jakarta 9.1 uses Jakarta package names. And moving to WebLogic 15.1.1 will enable you to use newer third-party libraries that use the Jakarta package names. As an example, Spring 5.3, Spring 5 or Spring. Spring is an example of a third-party Java library that uses Jakarta APIs. When building applications in general, the libraries you used in your application must match the libraries provided within the application server. So both must use JavaX or both must use Jakarta. WebLogic 15 in Spring 5.3 used JavaX APIs. The latest version of Spring 6.2, uses Jakarta APIs. WebLogic 15.1.1 will enable use of Spring 6.2 and its use of Jakarta libraries. And we are providing, available in beta today, application upgrade tooling that will enable you to take your Jakarta applications, your Spring applications, and applications using other third-party libraries and transform them to run Jakarta applications using Jakarta 9.1 APIs on WebLogic 15.1.1. The technology we're using for our application upgrade tooling leverages Open Rewrite, which is an open source refactoring engine that enables you to modify sources based on recipes that can be run in combination, driven by Maven or Gradle to automate the conversion of your applications to newer versions of technologies like Jakarta 9.1. We're providing recipes which will enable you to upgrade your applications to Jakarta 9.1. All these recipes are available in open source. We'll also be delivering over time new capabilities to integrate with OCI services to do things like automate the configuration of certificates to enable SSL configuration of your WebLogic applications. So these are new capabilities to integrate with OCI services that will be delivered in 15.1.1 GA. Finally, in 15.1.1, we'll be delivering AI capabilities that will enable you to integrate the use of AI with your WebLogic applications, either using OCI Gen AI through use of the OCI SDK or use of LangChain4j leveraging CDI extensions we will build that you can use in your WebLogic applications to use a variety of large language models and to use AI through configuration of properties uh, in your WebLogic deployments to simplify the use of WebLogic of AI in WebLogic applications. So I hope this gives you a sense of the work we're doing to enable you to modernize your applications. And with that, I will turn the floor over to Adrian. Thank you very much.
Will, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So I think there are some questions in the Q&A section. Maybe you want to take over there while I start. Thank you very much, and everybody to join this WebLogic Virtual Day. My name is Adrian Padilla, and I am going to be covering the section of running and managing WebLogic Server on OCI. So first of all, I would like to start by making sure that everybody follows what is WebLogic Server on OCI. So as Will was mentioning earlier today, WebLogic is being offered in Oracle Cloud through the marketplace in two different groups of offerings. The first offering is a set of images. This images is just enabling you to create compute instances that do not require a WebLogic license to be running WebLogic software on it, because those include the entitlement for you to run WebLogic Server, and it also includes the support. We have WebLogic Server Enterprise Edition Museum image that includes the same entitlements or the same features that you get with a WebLogic Server Enterprise Edition license. The cost of this compute instance is 25.81 cents per OCPU per hour. This is incredibly flexible because as soon as you start running the compute instance, you will be billed for OCPU per hour. If you stop the compute instance, you stop getting billed. So this is more flexible by far compared to a traditional, licensing, acquiring licensings and support contracts that we are used to go. And this is something you cannot find anywhere else. We also have the WebLogic Suite Enterprise, WebLogic Suite for OCI UCM image that includes the same features that you have or you get with a WebLogic Suite license. The cost of this compute instance is 46 cents per OCPU per hours. And we also have a variant or a version of this compute instance that provisions a forms domain within the compute instance. The other compute instances that we have on Oracle Linux and Windows only include binaries and the entitlements for WebLogic. So those are compute images. Then we have other set of offerings, which I think is the majority, and you can see on the box on the right that these actually include bring your own license offerings. Basically, we create a Terraform stack that is open source, that you can get it also from Marketplace, but you can go to the Oracle Quick Start GitHub project and get access to this set of stacks that will provision a WebLogic domain on multiple compute instances. If you choose the BYOL offerings, you will be provisioning on regular OCI platform images. If you choose the paid with universal credits, WebLogic Server for OCI UCM stacks, then you will be using WebLogic Server for OCI images that gives you this flexibility of using WebLogic and pay per OCPU per hour. So you have the two different offerings. Now, the ones that are called WebLogic Server for OCI, WLS for OCI stacks, these are actually creating the WebLogic domains on compute instances. So if you select 2 or 3 servers to be running on your WebLogic domain, you will have the same number of compute instances running as part of this domain. And on the other hand, we have the other calls WebLogic Server for OK. This is basically the Oracle Kubernetes engine, also known as OKE. And in this case, we create a Kubernetes environment on OKE, an OKE instance. And within the cluster, we create nodes and pipelines so that you can create as many domains as you want within this OKE instance. Now, when we talk about robustness and availability on WebLogic Server for CI, we're basically talking about the topology that we create when you create using WebLogic for CI stacks. If you select the VM options, the compute instance model, or also known as WebLogic Server for CI, just as that, you will get this type of topology. Basically, and the most common is all the WebLogic Server instances are created on a private subnet. This is very important because if you have forgotten to apply patches to your domain for any reasons, there could be vulnerabilities that could be exposed. But as long as your WebLogic domain is on a private subnet, the risk to expose those vulnerabilities are tremendously reduced, right? Obviously, if you install a server without no patch at all, there could be vulnerabilities that can be exploited. So as long as you are on a private subnet, the chances to get exploited by any vulnerability is really mitigated. Now, obviously, when you apply your patches, you're secure. But no matter what, this topology is an extra security on your topology. The only way to access this WebLogic server is through a bastion host that is exposed to a public subnet that will gain access, or it's open access to the ports, the admin ports of your web admin server, and the OCI load balancer that is optionally created for exposing only your application. Now, when you create WebLogic Server for CI stack on VMs, you have many options to create much more complex domains. Like, for example, you can select to use auto scaling that creates many, many more elements than just this. But this is just to show you, the principles that we use to create WebLogic Server for CI domains in the cloud. And then the other option is to create on a Kubernetes topology, right? So in Kubernetes, on OKE specifically, what we do is to create two different node pools. Now, you may wonder, these gray boxes you see here, where all these little boxes that are pods running on those node pools, why do we create two node pools? The reason is because all the pods, all the boxes that you see on this side, on this bottom box called WebLogic node pool, these are pods that require WebLogic binaries. The WebLogic binaries need to be running in a licensed node pool. So the node pool has many worker nodes or compute instances that are there to support to run your pods. And all of those should be licensed, right? So in this case, if you're using BYOL, you should be licensed the entire WebLogic node pool. But if you're using universal credits, as you have WebLogic per key UCM option, then you will be paying per OCPU per hour for the WebLogic node pool only. The non-WebLogic node pool basically is going to be running all the pods that do not require WebLogic software. So those can be run and just on top of compute instances. So that is basically the difference between these two node pools. As you can see, we create a Jenkins controller, and this Jenkins controller is pre-configured with a set of examples on pipelines that are pre-created to allow you to, out of the box, create multiple domains and in the correct node pool, and even to create more node pools if you want to have separations for domains. We use Nginx as an address load balancer, and we automate the creation of a share file system so that your logs and the tools that you use to build your WebLogic domains are all mounted in the OKE, and so that you can access at the time via Jenkins agents right there. And all this is provisioned also on a private subnet, and it's only exposed through the secure means by public load balancer. If you choose to use a public load balancer to expose your applications, and the bastion host, again, is optional just to access the administrative ports. All right. Now, on top of that, we also provide a set of, because the other aspect is highly available. So why you consider highly available? Because we have this set of guidelines and books that guides you to set up high availability and disaster recovery when you're running WebLogic Server on OCI. So the first disaster recovery guide that you see on the top, it's to describe how you can create a secondary site, a replica in another region within OCI. It gives you multiple choices and options to select. And if you choose to do that, then you can go to the number 4. Once you have disaster recovery guide implemented, means you have a secondary region, as in the picture depicts, then you can configure full stack disaster recovery guide that allows you to use OCI full stack disaster recovery service to get the best combined benefits that Oracle can offer to automate the replications and the switch over in case of an emergency. However, we also have another 2 options, which is the hybrid disaster recovery guide number 2. And this allows you to, if you have an on-premise environment of WebLogic, you can create a secondary on OCI. And we had already had some customers in the past who were following this hybrid disaster recovery guide. And for a reason of disaster, they had to switch over to the OCI region and they decided to stay there. So they used this as a migration also. Unfortunately, there was a disaster on their own premises, but it was good experience for them and they decided to stay on OCI. And now they're working to create a secondary region on OCI as well. So that's pretty good. And we have created a framework that assists you to create this hybrid DR framework. So if you have on-premise and you want to roll through this, the number 3 is basically a tool that will help you and assist you to automate the entire hybrid DR setup for you. Now, another aspect that we really want to highlight in WebLogic for OCI deployments is how easy it is to scale and how good it performs. The auto scaling capabilities that we offer, in WebLogic Server for OCI, it's better for you to see it with your own eyes. So that's why I created this YouTube video so that you can scan the QR code and it will show you how easy it is to provision the solution that you see on the right. So it's not quite easy to create an auto scalable solution in such an application server such as WebLogic, and it requires a lot of components so that you can be monitoring your workloads and that you can expand your cluster, scale out the cluster, and scale in when the workloads get back to normal, right? So in this, we're using multiple services in OCI that are automatically created for you. If you see the section or the image on the left, this is the few elements that we request for you, just the minimum threshold percent of workload and maximum threshold percent, and then some register username because we need to use and configure some functions for you, and so on. And that's it, basically. You can select multiple metrics. I think it's CPU load, heap memory, etc. So once you provision that, it takes about 10 minutes to create this solution for you, and you can verify that directly on the YouTube video. The flexible cost, again, one of the main advantages of running on OCI, and it's about the flexibility. Forget about acquiring, a license, a perpetual license. You don't need to do that. Or you can have your existing licenses and expand the capacity. If you, for example, your business has grown and you only have licenses to run 10 servers, you can definitely extend with WebLogic Server for OCI and include this new compute instances and attach those compute instances to your existing domain and use universal credits to pay for that. The universal credits is basically the coin that you use in the entire Oracle Cloud to buy any service within Oracle Cloud. So if you also have extra credits, you can definitely burn them out with these compute instances. And Oracle Cloud Infrastructure also has other incentive programs like Oracle Support Rewards and volume discounts. So if you have an existing license and decide to use also WebLogic Server for OCI, so for every dollar you spend on Universal Credits, you also get support rewards, which is basically money that you can use to pay your support contracts. And definitely, as I mentioned, pay for what you use. If you don't want to even pay or have a contract with Universal Credits, you just put your credit card and start billing and start consuming the services. So it's extremely flexible in cost. Now, as Will was mentioning, one of the most important aspects that we put a lot of focus on is about security. And in 14.1.2, as he mentioned, we have enabled by default secure production mode. In WebLogic Server for OCI, we went a little bit further. Sorry. And we implemented something we call the WebLogic Server Lockdown Guide. So there is a link there on the bottom of the slide. And this is basically a set of best practices for you to secure. That includes obviously the secure production mode. And as you can see, most of this and most importantly is secure production mode, which enables by default SSL with a custom identity and custom trust. Because if you're remembering previous versions of WebLogic Server, you get a demo identity and a demo trustor. And this you get a custom identity and custom trustor. Now, the way we configure SSL in WebLogic Server for OCI is by requiring you to provide us an OCI certificate authority. OCI certificate authority is an OCI service that you can just simply go and create a certificate authority that can work very well as a private certificate authority. So this will not be recognized as a certificate authority that is by default installed on JDK trust stores, but this can definitely work for your company, or in this case, for all the domains that you build within OCI. You just create a single OCI certificate authority for WebLogic domains, and then you use this while provisioning WebLogic Server for OCI. And what happens is that all the domains will be automatically trusting that OCI certificate authority. And during provisioning, we create those certificates, and those certificates are now going to be trusted for interconnection between WebLogic servers, or when you renovate the certificates, you don't need to trust those certificates again. So this is basically making your life easier by just making use of these OCI services. This hostname verification is very important to make sure there is no middleman attacks, though even if you're using the topologies that we recommend using by default private subnets, it's really hard to get exposed to those kind of attacks. We remove boot credentials. So by default, if you're not using secure production mode, there is a boot.properties file that contains your credentials that are encrypted. And those are very handy for dev environments, but not recommended in production environments. The thing is that when you reboot, you need to provide the credentials manually every time you reboot your domain. And we also create two WebLogic administration users because again, there is no boot.properties files. If for some reason you lose access to one admin role, I think there is no way to recover from that. So it's a best practice and recommended to have two WebLogic users, admin users. And this lockdown guide was introduced in 12.1, but is now defaulting in 14.1.2. If you create a WebLogic for OCI stack in 14.1.2, you will see that by default, this is using secure production mode. WebLogic Server for OCI is also integrated with other solutions in Oracle, for example, Oracle eBusiness Suite. If you have to do customizations to the application tier in eBusiness Suite, you have to pay for a license of ISEE, or in this case, WebLogic Suite. So if you are using eBusiness Suite, now you can use WebLogic Suite using an image base to go and pay as you go, which is excellent for new implementations or short-term projects that requires an upgrade or development training, or if your business has grown and you need more compute instances, but don't want to renegotiate a contract, then you can definitely use WebLogic Suite UCM image-based VMs for coupling this. And Oracle JD Edwards is another example of this kind of use case. We have also integrated JD Edwards with WebLogic Server for OCI images. There is the standard and Enterprise Edition BYL, but it's also the Enterprise Edition UCM, which is functioning as pay-as-you-go, very similar. And we also have a YouTube video available right there. If you Google it on YouTube, just put JD Edwards with WebLogic Server for OCI and you get it. And as I mentioned on the slides at the beginning, we have a way for you to provision forms very quickly. If you're interested in getting a WebLogic an Oracle Forms domain to deploy your Forms applications, you can use the BYOL offering that is available in Marketplace, and also you can use WebLogic Suite image. In the WebLogic Suite image, you can find that in the versions of the multiple WebLogic Suite for OCI images, there is a 12.1.19 and 14.2 version of Oracle Forms. And this is because WebLogic Suite does include the entitlement and support to use forms. And therefore, we have provided you this ability to quickly provision Oracle Forms domains. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get this domain up and running. So it's pretty cool. And last year we introduced finally OCI, WebLogic Server for OCI support for Windows images. So now we support the Windows 2016 to 2022 and 2019. And these are just compute images that are on top of Windows that will be billed on top of Windows. It's basically compute. You will be paying for compute. You will be paying for Windows, and you will be paying for WebLogic Server for OCI. The cost that you will see is different lines for each. One is for infrastructure, and one is for WebLogic Server for OCI. Could be multiple for infrastructure. And within the box, you will find the different versions of JDK. In this case, now we have actually, this is a typo. Now we are including the latest versions of JDK and 14.2 as well. We support this installers. There is a patching tool available for you to include, apply latest patches on these compute instances. But as you're going to see moving forward, we're going to be asking you to try out the new WebLogic management service that is going to be serving these purposes as well, right? And it's trying to be very simple. We are giving you the tools and options for you to customize whatever you want. It's not much different than you sitting on a compute instance and installing everything from scratch. And if you want to customize that, you can do it. If you use WebLogic Server for OCI stack, you have obviously an opinionated WebLogic Server domain, but you can also download the compute stack. The WebLogic Server for OCI stack is available on Oracle Quick Start. You can get a copy of that. You can customize that if you want to include more compute instances or other services. And if you want to customize the compute instance after provision, you can definitely do that. For example, we have customers who have decided to use OHS on front of the WebLogic domain. We by default use OCI load balancer to expose US applications on OCI, but some customers decide to use that, and it's perfectly fine. So it's completely customizable. You just get the compute instances created and installed and configured so that you have everything to start quickly and secure. But you can definitely customize that, and in any label. And this is an example, and actually I have an embedded video here to show you how quick it is and how easy it is to provision a WebLogic server for a CI domain. And I'm just gonna fast forward here so you can see on the video that is filling some networking information. In this case, I select provision a load balancer and auto scaling. There are some options that I did not use in this case, but you can definitely use, like including a share file system in each of their compute instances, or integrate with OCI logging service, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end, let me just really quickly scroll to the end, and you'll see that this exercise, it took, somewhere within 10 minutes to provision this completely solution, this complete solution. So this is what we are trying to do here. And finally, the most interesting topic, the most I would say exciting topic that I have to share with you is the new OCI native service that we are working on to make sure that you have a no-brainer decision whenever you decide to move to cloud, if you haven't already. Is you know this service will aiming to facilitate and make your life so much easier to manage WebLogic domains on OCI. And this is called the WebLogic management service. And right now it's on limited availability, but it's completely ready for you to start using it on limited regions. Today is available on Ashburn, but this month, on April 2025, we are rolling out many other regions. I think it's about 8 regions that we are going to be rolling out, like Frankfurt and Phoenix. Probably next week is going to be probably ready. So you will be keeping in time on the documentation to keep an eye, and we will be documenting the regions that is available. But right now, you can try on Ashburn, and you will be able to see in a demo that I have that I'm going to be giving in a few minutes, that you can just turn on an agent, and that is basically giving information to our control plane, and then we will be able to start managing your WebLogic domain. Right now, you will see the domains listed as an inventory. It's going to be giving you information mostly on patching readiness, whether it is on the latest fixed security patches. You're going to be able to start, stop, and restart WebLogic domains, not servers, because you can do that from your remote console or the admin console in 12.2.1.4, but actually restart the entire domain. And to do that, you can also specify the restart order of your entire server list. So you can start, the admin server is always restarted first, but after that, you can restart all the managed servers in any order that you wish. So when you restart the domain, it's going to be doing a rolling restart that way. We have support for 12.2.1.4 and 14.1.1 and 14.1.2 domains, as you can imagine. And we plan to continue including support for the newer versions of WebLogic. So 15.1.1 is going to be supported as soon as it is generally available. And if you create a WebLogic server for a CI stack, it will automatically be enabled with WebLogic management service capabilities, so that you can start applying patches using WLMS right away. If you have existing installations, or if you have custom installations on OCI, or if you decide to install WebLogic 14.1.2 in a compute instance by your own, and tomorrow or anytime in the future, you can enable WebLogic management service by simply going to the well, first you need to be on a region that is already supported. You can see that in the docs. Assuming that is in Ashburn today, you can just go to the compute instance and enable the plugin. That will basically show up your compute instance and will be discovering your domain. And I'm going to be showing you how to do that. And again, probably by limited availability, you will see that the list of features is very tiny. Majority of the work that we have done is basically to put the service out there. But in the future, near future, I would say, we are planning to introduce many other features around lifecycle management of your WebLogic domains, including backup and restore. We are interested in provisioning the WLST Cloud Shell, so that you can just open Oracle, similar to the OCI Cloud Shell. You will be able to open a WLST Cloud Shell where you can invoke the WLST commands directly to your WebLogic domain. We will include JDK and OS patching in the future. Right now it's only WebLogic. We intend to include fleet support, Windows support, certificate management, implementation or warning about security best practice notifications with problems of your WebLogic domains, health checkups, and even DR setups, and more complicated, configurations setups on your WebLogics running on OCI. And you have a YouTube video available also on this QR code. You have a time to scan it. You will see how to apply patches, simply apply patches with WebLogic Management Service on a WebLogic running on OCI, right? So with no further ado, I would like to go to the demo. So this is OCI. And if you go first, let me go to show you my compute instances. So this is compute instances that I have running right now in this compartment. And as you can see here, this is a compute instance that has WebLogic servers, because this is the name we given with WebLogic for OCI. So this is another domain that has WebLogic servers, another, and another. So if I click in any of this, you will see under Oracle Cloud Agent that WebLogic Management Service is enabled. You see, so this is how you enable WebLogic Management Service on a compute instance. This is a Bastion instance, so obviously this one does not have WebLogic Management Service enabled. So I'm just going to enable it to show you how easy it is to enable it. It's just slide the button, and that's it. So it takes a couple of minutes to actually start running. It's basically giving a signal, and the process is going to be start running on the compute instance. And when it start running, you will see that in this observability and management, you will find WebLogic Management Service. When you do that, you will see a managed instance showing up here. So this one that I turn on is just barely starting the server, and eventually it's going to show up here. So these are the existing ones that are already running. Now, a managed instance is nothing else than a compute instance that has these WebLogic Management Service agent running. If you see, we have this link on hostname. I'm going to be opening on a different tab. And this is a link to the compute instance. So this compute instance, as you can see, has the agent running. So this compute instance in OCI is represented as a managed instance in WebLogic Management Service because it has the agent running. Now, the way we are able to discover your domains is because by default, we give a set of predefined domain search paths. So this is the list of paths that the agent is going to be looking for domain configurations. If you have domains within any of these folders, it will automatically find it. Otherwise, you will be having to modify and add another path if you have a different path, a domain home path to the ones that we have listed here. Obviously, you can customize this and remove all the domain paths that you don't want to use, or even go to the main settings here under WebLogic Management Settings and modify the global settings for all the managed instances. And when you do that, you maybe notice that even if you modify the managed instance settings, the servers are not showing up here, and it's because the agent is not running 24/7. It's going to be running, every 5 or every 10 or every 30 minutes. Something that you can also configure here by default is 6 hours to run for new domains, because that's not something you've done very often. So you have a scan button. So if, let's say, you are setting up this new domain, or you're changing your domain path or installing a new domain on this compute instance, you can run the scan button, and the agent will be creating a reward request, and the agent is going to be fitting all the information here. And when you get this information from the managed instance, you will start seeing the domains showing up here. But before I go to the domains, which is the central piece of it, I'm going to show you the overview. In the overview page, you can have a set of policies. So as any service in OCI, you are required to set up a set of policies. And the set of policies, statements here are not so many, but sometimes this is something that we can get curious about and get confused about. So what we have provided here is basically tutorial for you to just select your identity domain. You can select the group that you want to give access to use WebLogic Management Service. And then we have this predefined policy statements. So if you have access as a root admin, or you can create the policy statements, you can click on setup, and this will create this policy with this name, whatever name you give here. And if not, you can just ask your tenancy administrator, hey, I need these policy statements, and he can refine the policy statements with the right verse for giving you access to it. Here you have an overview of all the domains that you are managing, and a set of, interesting links, documentation, and so on. Now, under the main sections, and I'm going to be hurrying a little bit up to be able to cover everything I want for you, is in the domain section, you will be able to see that we have the number of patches that are ready to be patched, right? So we have something called server patch readiness. This name may be changing in the future, by the way, with the new features that we add, but right now it's everything around patching. So in this case, as you can imagine, if there is something wrong with your compute instance, if the compute instance is down, if there is no connectivity with the agent, if the credentials that you have entered are for Node Manager are incorrect, or many things could happen. We may not be able to apply patches. So we run a set of testings or tests to verify that we can actually patch your server. And you can see the list of tests that we perform by opening these patch readiness details, and you'll see that we verify all these things. For example, if you don't give the agent file permissions because you restrict that, then we will not be able to apply patches, because everything is done through the agent, so the agent needs to have access to all that. And the information that we collect from your domain is basically domain configuration. We do not collect any data or database applications or anything like that. It's just domain configuration that is required for us to apply patches, or in the future to configure certificates or apply or restart servers, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the only thing we collect, right? And here you will see the list of servers that are running. As you can see, this is running on the same compute instance, but definitely you can have domains that are running in different compute instances. For example, this one. This has two servers running on the same instance and another server running on a different instance. The agent is able to report the server to the control plane, and we are able to detect which server belongs to which domain. So we create this correlation here, so you're able to manage the entire domain with this simple view following a domain view, right? So it's not about a server independently, but everything belongs to a domain, because when you deploy an application, you deploy it to a domain, right? And you're interested to act on that. So something you can change is the start order. So in this case, the admin server is never editable. This is always going to be restarted. But after that, you can change the restart order by changing the number here. So you can put a 0 to make it the same time as the admin server, 1 or 2, or any kind of numbers, and those can be different. Oops. All right. So other things that I want to show you is when you click on apply recommended patches, well, in this case, it's telling you that, hey, you have another domain that is running. So we understand that if you apply patches to this middleware, you will be also affecting another middleware, right? So if you're okay to continue, then you will see the list of patches that will be applied. Right now, it's not a delta of what is installed and what is not installed. That is coming in the future, and an inventory of patches that you already have installed and those that you're going to be installing. Right now, it's just giving you, this is the list of patches that to be applied, and we make sure that you have all of them applied, all of them that are applicable to you. So when you click on apply button, this is going to be creating a work request. And there you go. And the domain goes to updating, and a work request is created to apply the patches. And this is going to be applying the patches not just to this domain, but it's going to be applying to the shared domain as well. As you can see, these two domains are sharing middleware between them, and that's why it's going to be applied into both. The first time you open this a domain, you will see that there is a flag here on the top, and this is basically telling you that you need to accept the terms and conditions. So either you have a valid WebLogic license and support contract, or you're using WebLogic Server for CI, UCM, or paid images. And if you agree with these terms and conditions, then you're able to use the WebLogic management service fully, right? We give you different options to control how the patching is being done. For example, you can disable patching if this is a production environment. Maybe you don't want to, by accident you apply patches to it. So you can, by default, it's disabled. So you can enable or disable. You can enable rollback when patching fails. If there is a problem, you can control the server shutdown, timeout, and you can also let us know how do you want us to control your servers. By default, we use Node Manager to start and stop the servers, but you can also specify custom scripts to start and stop the servers. All right. And you can also start a domain if it is completely stopped, or you can stop a domain and you can restart, obviously. And you can also provide credentials. By default, we use root.properties, which is getting from the domain configuration. But if you're using secure production mode, that's not going to be an option. So in that case, you probably want to provide an OCI secret where you go to OCI secret vault, and within the vault, you can create secrets for the username and the password with the WebLogic administrative credentials. Also, you can do the same for Node Manager if you're using Node Manager to control the servers to start and stop. And I think that's mostly all that I want to cover for today. And I think I'm done with my time. Any questions that I need to answer? Okay. If not, I'm going to pass over to Phil.
Thanks, Adrian. Let me share my desktop here. Move this out of the way. Second. And hopefully everybody can see my slides. So welcome, everybody. Yes, thank you. So welcome. And today we'll be talking about building cloud-native AI applications with Helidon and Coherence. My name is Phil Chung. I'm part of the product management team for Enterprise Cloud-Native Java. Safe harbor statement. So a little bit about me. I used to focus on in-memory data processing at times 10, and that got acquired into Oracle. Focus on middleware within Oracle. I am a member of the Eclipse Microprofile AI Working Group. And you can see my LinkedIn and social media. So for the agenda, I'll go through a quick introduction. I'll talk about something called RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. I kind of describe it, where it's useful and how it's used, and just a general idea of what it looks like. And also explain in the context of some of the products that we have, Coherence, which is an in-memory data grid, and Helidon, which is our open source cloud-native framework. So with AI, certainly there is a lot of impact on many different industries that it can improve the GDP. And this is a aggregated number from various analysts from Accenture, EY, Goldman Sachs, McKinsey. And the interesting thing is that this is a fairly conservative number on the GDP impact. Various companies have actually promoted, even larger numbers. Certainly, we can take a look at some of the more some of the more aggressive numbers actually from NVIDIA. And what I thought was interesting was that there was a quote from a Sequoia venture capitalist, Stephanie Zhang, on how she interviews some of the startups that she talks to, and one of the questions that she asks is, "What is the scale of your ambition?" And partly it's the standard way of growing a business is a little bit different with AI because of the virtuous cycle, and the rate of improvement with generative AI is so high that virtuous cycle improves upon it, and certainly it creates a much faster rate of growth than anything. NVIDIA CEO at the CES keynote back in January, he mentioned that robotics could become the world's biggest multi-trillion-dollar industry. One of the things that they've announced just a few days ago was that they open sourced a LLM just dedicated to a robot, humanoid robot, and you can train that into doing very specific tasks, but it is designed to be a generic LLM that you can augment with additional capabilities to specialize in certain things. And it's not just industrial robots, but really other areas that we would consider what's called the physical AI. So not just bits and bytes with software, but also at the edge, having to deal with the physical world. And that can be anything from robotics to autonomous vehicles. And by vehicles, that could be, cars, planes, and, drones. Really, anything that needs a type of LLM to help manage the guidance and navigation. Could be a remote controlled or autonomous lawnmower, right? So that's the interesting thing, that the edge type of use cases, or sorry, not use cases, edge environments really can benefit from this explosion of open source LLMs. So, cloud is certainly one of the great areas that is benefiting from AI. But at the edge of cloud, where you have autonomous vehicles and physical AI and robotics that are involved with that, that is positioned to take off in a very very high growth area. And I just wanted to position Java and AI together. It is a modular, portable solution that is very powerful when you combine the two, right? The scale that Java can sit at, anything from small footprints to let's say running on ARM and Raspberry Pis, to larger deployments all the way up to AI data centers. And with Java and AI, that message is improving as time progresses, right? You can leverage Java today with inference, RAG, and with agents as well. In particular, we focus on the post-training of an LLM and running Java applications and Java services in cloud and certainly on-premise as well. So some of the things that we can leverage is certainly the existing install base of Java applications, the millions of Java developers that are out there, and really with that combination and the trajectory that AI and Java are improving, and improving the collaboration of the two, there is a lot of economically valuable work that can be created with the two, with Java and AI. So some examples of that would be things like, let's say, things that leverage anomaly and fraud detection, and that can include anything from financial services, transaction monitoring, insurance fraud, but also in the physical world, cell towers, the monitoring of the equipment and the distribution units there. At the edge, that can include hospitals, that could include retail, which includes restaurants as well. Other use cases are leveraging AI with language translation, right, and natural language processing, whether it be on the phone or at a point of presence, right? Let's say a store or a restaurant. Another area is recommendation engines. So you can find patterns and you can find similarities. So the ability to do what's called similarity search is very popular with audio and visual types of content. And this can be used, certainly with entertainment, but also make recommendations at stores and restaurants, in addition to entertainment like movies and video. So there's a lot of things that can be enhanced with AI, and certainly that virtuous cycle will only accelerate with the advancement of with LLMs getting better and having better reasoning. In addition to that, there's different ways to personalize content. There's also, with regards to understanding the content better in terms of multiple or multimodal, what's called media. That's image and video. So really, it's adding to a lot of the systems at the edge. So I wanted to focus on some areas that we can help improve, and certainly improving the accuracy. A technique that we'll be focusing on is RAG, retrieval augmented generation, and it helps in this set of areas to basically augment a generative AI, a LLM, to improve the accuracy so that it has additional facts, additional information that it might not have in the public training material that it has from the public internet. So you might want to augment the LLM with corporate documents, living documents, to help improve the accuracy. So if it doesn't have those facts, generative AI tends to hallucinate. So by providing it the additional facts that it may need to help answer your request, it helps reduce the hallucinations. And most of the LLMs out there, they have a cutoff date in terms of what is the most recent bit of information that they have as part of their training corpus. And that cutoff, let's say, for example, for OpenAI's ChatGPT, is around September 2021. So if you have anything that you want it to answer that is after that date, right, you would have to augment that somehow and teach the LLM some of those current events or living documents that you want to have. So that's one of the other areas that RAG, a RAG process, is useful for AI applications. Another area is obviously for corporate documents. You want that to be secure and private and remain within the confines of your organization or within your data center. And finally, training a LLM, there are various ways. Certainly, cost is one of the concerns when you are training it, and not everybody has a farm of GPUs that they can leverage. With RAG, GPUs are actually optional. If you have it, great. If not, then you can leverage CPUs. So that's one of the great things about reducing the cost when leveraging AI. So when you have RAG, this is the normal flow. If you have let's say a chat interface, right? The most common one is you ask it a question, and in the chat interface, it sends it to the LLM. That LLM could be either local or it could be a web service that's provided, let's say by OpenAI or a hosted cloud provider. So Oracle has an OCI generative AI service that's provided. So that LLM or large language model will process that question and will respond back with a response, right? Fairly typical. So when you have RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, what happens is that you ask it the question, right? The second thing it does is that it will ask or do a semantic similarity search on a vector store. That's the data store over here that will have information about, let's say, your corporate documents or anything that you wanted to augment the LLM with. And if there are pieces of information, it will send back the document chunks back to the application or the chat application that you're using. It will send the combination of those document chunks and the question or prompt that you're asking to the LLM. And from that, the LLM will respond back and hopefully leverage the augmented document chunks that are provided as part of the context and send you back the response. So, excuse me. So this is one way of adding the corporate data or private data that is not trained in the normal publicly accessed information that is trained for the LLM. So this way you have the ability of having the LLM provide you information about, let's say, your corporate, HR policies, your, sales data, or systems data that might be in a corporate wiki or document or some type of data store that you might have. So there are essentially there's two parts of RAG. One is really ingesting that information, right? And that would be fetching the information, your corporate documents, Confluence, wiki pages, and ingesting that. And that ingesting process goes into the embedding engine. And there are numbers or floating point vectors that are calculated from those documents, and they get calculated and stored in a vector database. So that is part of the RAG process for ingesting that bit of information. And then the other part is the retrieval part or the search. And that requires the ability to do a semantic similarity search on the vector database. So let's dive a little bit deeper into what is a vector database. So it is a database that stores what are floating point numbers, right? It's essentially a array of floating point numbers. It has magnitude and direction. And think of it as a coordinate, and it allows you to identify, for a particular token or word in this case, where it might fit into this diagram, right? So if you have something, let's say a pair, it might have these coordinates on this two-dimensional plane. In the real world, when you have a vector embedding that is calculated and stored, it's a n-dimensional, many dimensions, not just x and y in 2 dimensions, but we're talking about hundreds of dimensions. These have to be calculated, and what this provides you after it stores it in the vector database is the ability to search for it, search for similar things, the ability to categorize and cluster it, right? Let's say fruit or animals or US states, the ability to make recommendations on things that are similar and to do some type of pattern recognition or pattern matching or anomaly detection, right? So this is what's used for vector databases, and it's a very flexible and powerful aspect of what you can use a vector database for, not just for RAG. These metrics that are calculated, these floating point numbers, they have various parameters and I guess algorithms that are used. One of which most popular is cosine distance. So that is usually used for RAG for text to understand the similarity between various tokens or words. So this process, if you are ingesting documents, you basically have to have a way to download it, to store it within your store. And also, once you've retrieved it, you have to split it up or chunk it into smaller pieces so it's easily digested by the embedding engine, right? These chunks are then tokenized. Basically, a word can be a token, and each of these words or tokens, there is a vector or set of floating point numbers that can be calculated on each of those words. So these vector embeddings are stored in a vector database, right? And the model that is used is what's called the embedding model, and there's various ones that you can plug in, usually for vector databases. The second aspect of it is the search or the query process. So for a client, let's say you do the search, it recognizes the tokens that are part of your question, part of your prompt, right? Those tokens are vectorized, and then it gets asked the search in the vector database, right? So if you ask it something about, let's say something about lawnmowers, right? The example is you might have a context of grass or lawns or something about grass in general, or maybe in the stores what's available for in stock for lawnmowers. So those are similar, and that's what you would get for your semantic similarity search in the vector database, right? So the chunks that have that similar context or information, those chunks are sent to the LLM in addition to your prompt or your question, right? And that gets sent, and then the generated response, which hopefully will include the document chunks that it finds that are similar, it gets sent back to your client. So this is the anatomy of RAG. Basically, you send the prompt, right? it sends it to the chat interface or chat application that you have, right? It will ask that question to the vector database. That vector database will send back the associated the similar document chunks that it has, and you send the combination of your question and the chunks to the LLM, and finally, the response is created by the LLM and gets sent back to you. So that in essence is a retrieval augmented generation process, where a RAG application or RAG pipeline. So now let's see how this might fit with cloud native applications built with Java, and in particular with Helidon and Coherence. So in order to describe a little bit better, let me describe Helidon, which is it is a Java framework for developing cloud native applications. It's a modern and open source. It's on GitHub. You can find the source there. It's and the project is created and maintained and supported by Oracle. It is container and Kubernetes and Cloud Native Computing Foundation friendly. So it works with environments of containers and Kubernetes in addition to VMs and physical, right? It was the first and only framework that implements the Java virtual threads from the ground up. And the reason why that is a differentiator here with Helidon is that it gives you this scalability of a reactive type of coding, but the simplicity of a thread per request model. What this means in plain English is that instead of having very complicated code that involves callbacks, that calls a lot of reactive type of code, which is very hard to debug, and you can't actually step through it with a debugger. It's much easier to code in the traditional sense of for loops, while loops, sequential code. So it's easy to write clean code that is easy to understand and debug and maintain. It also has a lower learning curve for cloud native, Jakarta or Java EE developers that are used to certain standards for, let's say, annotations, which use CDI, JAX-RS for REST services, and it's very lightweight. So Helidon does not require an app server. If you look at comparisons to other popular frameworks that can be used in Java, let's say for Spring Boot, it has much less footprint for memory and disk, and the throughput and scaling is much higher. So we have a lot less overhead, and we do adopt a lot of the cutting edge features of Java to improve performance and productivity. We also ensure that it's very small, and we make judicious use of external dependencies, right? The landing page for Helidon is helidon.io if you want to find out more information. So knowing that about Helidon, it's a framework to build Java applications that are cloud native and microservices. Helidon AI, which is one aspect of Helidon, it's designed for light, fast, scalable cloud native AI agents built in the same philosophy as microservices or the Unix philosophy, right? It's easy to cleanly scale AI agents to millions of requests without the reactive code technical debt, as I explained earlier. The great thing about Helidon AI is that it supports LangChain 4j. It has specific integration with LangChain 4j. So what we've noticed in the market is LangChain 4j has been pretty much the de facto standard for AI type of development in Java is best-in-class AI integration. We have a basically the integration works at a level of abstracting certain things, the prompt templates, the parsers, the document loaders, and splitters. So LangChain4j, you can think of as it's a unified API to let you leverage a lot of different varieties of LLMs, whether it be locally hosted, open source, or it could be in the cloud, let's say with OpenAI. And also various vector stores. So it also supports other vector stores, LangChain4j, such as the Oracle Database 23AI, and also Coherence as well. I'll mention that very soon. Some of the other areas of integration is chat memory management, and we can actually call functions or have the LLM actually call code within your Java application. And that's leveraging a tool annotation that LangChain4j provides. Some of the other aspects of the Helidon AI is that it helps simplify the AI service or application or microservice in a cloud-native way. There are facilities to provide observability using OpenTelemetry, health checks. It can be a default part of your application. Helidon can provide that. There's other areas of configuration. There is a compile time dependency injection that we provide for inversion of control, or IOC, basically to improve or simplify the configuration of, let's say, the LLMs, the vector stores. And there is also a live hands-on lab in the link in this slide. If you are interested, please send us an email. We can send you a link to the live lab for Helidon and AI. And that was introduced at Java 1 just a couple of weeks ago. So building a RAG-based application with Helidon, you can see that Helidon serves essentially the HTTP wrapper or the ability to serve HTTP requests and to also be the HTTP client. And it interacts with the vector store, and the vector store can be a variety of things. It could be whether it be Coherence, the Oracle database, MySQL, Postgres, or any other vector database out there. From the inference side, you can also plug in anything, whether it be a cloud-based LLM, such as Oracle's OCI, generative AI service, or Cohere, or OpenAI, or you can plug in anything from Hugging Face, or you can locally manage that. You can bring your own LLM as well. That's the other option. The other component of RAG, which we'll discuss, is also Coherence as well, which I'll talk about, but it provides a massively parallel engine for RAG. Here's an example of Helidon AI, some of the annotations that can be used. This is the annotation to define a prompt so that you instruct the LLM on what its task is, and you provide it guardrails on what it should do and what it should not do as part of your prompt. There are other annotations that can be used to define failure handling, timeout, retries, the fallback. So there's a variety of things that can be leveraged out of the box. So that's the nice thing about Helidon. It is very light, but it also contains a lot of functionality that you might need for a microservice. or a cloud native specific application. The other thing that Helidon can be useful for is to implement agentic AI design patterns. And there are 4 design patterns that are coined by Professor Andrew Ng, and he's a professor at Stanford University, and also a luminary in the AI field. And he coined these about a year ago in his newsletter. But the 4 design patterns are, the first one is called reflection. And this is having the LLM review its own response and reflect on that and see if it can improve upon that. And there are also various ways to write the prompt to do that. The second way is part of that reflection is you can also use a tool. I believe Anthropic released a tool recently to think, really. And thinking means, you let the LLM kind of reflect based on some guidelines that you provide as part of the prompt, and just try to understand the problem better. Tools are a way for the LLM to call a function or a method in your code, and that code would be your agent to access some type of external system or tool or data, right? It could be as simple as a calculator, right? The annotation for that is just tool, and you pass in a description of what you want the LLM to understand about how to use that tool. And from that description, the LLM will decide, basically in non-deterministic fashion, how to use the tool. And these tools can be anything from access to, let's say, your system to understand order details, or let's say to understand the file system, to do a web search, to be a calculator, anything that you want the LLM to leverage as part of defining a response. Planning is another design pattern that allows you to decompose a complex task so that you can have smaller items, and you can go through that plan and have it execute each of those smaller subtasks to greater detail. And that's used for usually a more complex, higher level, challenge or problem that you want the LLM to solve, right? So planning can be a powerful tool, and you can leverage other things. You could leverage reflection, and you could leverage tools as part of that planning. And finally, including multi-agents and multi-LLMs in the collaboration of creating a response for you. And these can be specialized agents. So you might have a specialized LLM, let's say, to do code output for Java, and you might have another LLM that does code output for C or for Python or a different language. And you might have another LLM that does image or video generation, another one that does language translation, another one that does financial analysis. So it's really the philosophy of having specialization, having smaller things that you can subdivide a complex task into subtasks. And you orchestrate that probably with an LLM to orchestrate across the different smaller subtasks. So these are some of the design patterns that can be built with Helidon. Now, with the RAG process, I mentioned we have coherence, which is an in-memory data grid. It also added the capability of being used as a vector store. But coherence is also used as a distributed cache. It can be used as a cache for the chat memory management for your AI application. Coherence traditionally is used for distributed caching and processing events and continuous queries. It can be used in a single cluster or multiple clusters across multiple regions, and there's federated replication across them. It's already been used by many large customers in many various industries in mission critical systems. And it is cloud native and Kubernetes and cloud friendly. There is a Kubernetes operator for it, and it works with a variety of languages. So it is polyglot. So it does not have to be Java. Coherence can integrate with clients from Java, C++, .NET, Go, Python, and JavaScript, and many more. With the REST API, gRPC, there's also a GraphQL ability that you can use with both Helidon and Coherence, and it offers the observability with OpenTelemetry. So with Coherence, we added two major things for it to become a vector store. First is calculating and storing vector embeddings. The second is having the ability to do that search, and it's a semantic similarity search. And we can do both of that in a massively parallel fashion. This is why we can do a massively parallel RAG engine to improve performance. But in addition to RAG, the vector store can be used as an engine to provide recommendations, to provide anomaly and fraud detection. In multimodal applications, you can use it for image and object detection and classification, and certainly with pattern recognition and pattern analysis. Right? So these are the use cases for a vector store. Now we've actually leveraged both Coherence and Helidon together with building RAG. We've done it and tested it internally with a internal team that needed to ingest millions of documents, the Oracle public docs, which comes out to be 1.8 million documents. We were able to ingest it, and using Coherence to massively parallelize that out across a number of nodes, we're able to improve the accuracy, reduce the hallucinations, and we're able to improve a process where originally it was using Python and GPUs. It was a 40-hour and 8-minute process, and after we tested with Coherence, we were able to get it down to 3 hours and 15 minutes. How can we do this? There's a variety of capabilities that are provided in Coherence and Helidon that are not available in other areas such as Redis and OCI cache. Certainly, the ability to read and write and use Coherence as a read and write cache to the document sources and to the database. But really, the parallel content fetching, splitting, and vectorization, that's one aspect of it. The searching part, the semantic similarity search, we can do that in parallel. There are indices that are specific to vector stores, HNSW, binary quantization. We leverage the metrics for cosine distance. And one key aspect is we can also use Coherence as a hybrid of both similarity search and exact search. And that is also done in parallel as well. The other aspect is we can store the document chunks and vectors on disk as well using a feature called elastic data. With Helidon, we leverage virtual threads so that we could scale, highly scale out to millions of requests without reactive coding. That's a technical debt. We can use Helidon as the web server, as the web client, and also to simplify the configuration. Also, in the RAG solution, we leverage the integration with LangChain4j, and we also leverage Onyx runtime that runs the vector embedding model. So this is what a single JVM might look like. You can have basically the RAG application, excuse me, leverage the Onyx runtime for the embedding model, LangChain4j for the integration with the LLM, Coherence as the vector store, Helidon to provide the HTTP wrapper and the ability to make requests and receive requests via REST. So as a single JVM, or you massively parallelize it across a cluster, and this can scale out to a fairly large degree. So let me show you what that might look like. So, excuse me. So in the interest of time, I have some predefined questions I can look up. But let me let me get the key. I forgot. I guess I needed to. Excuse me, just a second here. Let me grab the key. I guess it expired. So let me put in my OpenAI API key. And let me put in a question. So this is with standard, whoops. Did something expire? Something expired. It was just working about 2 hours ago. This was just working. I guess the demo gods are not with me today. Sure, use a valid API key. That should be valid.
We might I need to skip demo, Phil. We
Yeah.
lost minutes over the time. So if
Yeah, sorry about that. But let me see if I could do the on the back end. So on the back end, what you're seeing over here, I was going to show you asking the question to ChatGPT. The the demo over here is using Coherence. There's 6 members of it, and when I tell it to do a load, it will read about 207 documents and chunk them and distribute that across the cluster. You can see that it should take a little bit over a minute. So it's doing this in parallel, and we are using E4 shapes. What I've heard just today, we just have we have brand new E6 shapes that are coming online, and we've done some of the testing, and they've actually the E6 shapes are about double, maybe a little bit faster than double the speed of the E4 shapes that I'm using in this demo. So the demo is able to complete in half the time using the same amount of CPUs, which is quite amazing. That it can it's more than twice as fast. So yeah, in about 100, a little bit over 100 seconds or so. Okay, so what I yeah, it's getting close. And what I was going to show you basically is I was going to show you is basically scaling this out from 6 nodes to 12 nodes. And
Sorry, Phil. In the interest of time, do you know how much longer you need?
I think just maybe 5 minutes or less. Um, so here are the Kubernetes clusters. If I scale this out, so it's scaled out. And this will take about a couple of seconds to kind of initialize the additional members, right? And you can actually see it redistributing across over here. And it's doing it in real time. So the ability to scale out in real time, and also it can survive a failure of a node as well. So that's one of the great aspects of coherence, the ability to do real time scaling. But let me go back to my slide over here. So the benefits of combining Helidon with AI is that you have a very fast, lightweight way to build these AI agents and RAG applications in general. LangChain4j will help abstract the LLMs and vector stores, and you can plug and play basically with pretty much most of the stuff out there. The philosophy for Helidon is really simple things should be simple and complex things should be possible. We can scale out to millions of requests, and this is due to our use of Java virtual threads. It is very simple to use, but also we try to make sure that dependencies are few and far between, and that reduces the security, the attack vector surface area. A lot of the capabilities you can add in from a modular perspective, open API, open telemetry, and from the microprofile perspective, there's microprofile config, JAX-RS, their health checks, fault tolerance. There's a number of capabilities out there. So it has a lot of strong capabilities. From a coherence AI perspective, it is an in-memory data grid with added vector store capabilities. So what that means is you could scale, whether it be from 1 JVM on a Raspberry Pi to thousands in a data center. They're unlimited data types. Usually a lot of vector stores, they're native. They have very limited data types that you can use. The distributed caching capability of coherence, it does the auto rebalancing, as you saw, the fault tolerance, and the ability to have a hybrid search of both similarity and exact metadata filtering. That's quite powerful. In addition to all the other data grid capabilities of continuous queries and pub/sub events, it is polyglot, so you can use it in a variety of languages for your client. It offers GraphQL and CoQL as query languages. Observability is one of the strong points of Coherence. We can expose the observability metrics in mbeans and OpenTelemetry. And optionally, of course, you can integrate with any document stored in the backend. An example of that would be Oracle 23AI. So it's really a great time to be an agentic AI developer, and it adds a lot of value that you can leverage Helidon and Coherence as part of that AI story. So with that, I'll pass control back to Quan.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. Right. Just to wrap up now, apology for overrunning. I'm sure there are great information there. I hope everyone find it useful. Thank you to all the speakers and thank you for attending. I hope everyone has learned something new today. We will send you the recording afterwards. Do reach out to us if you have any other questions. You can send an email to me at the email address here on this page. And thanks again for your participation today. With that, I would like to close this event. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.